profile. My name is Liz Allen. I'm the Marketing Director here at Customer Focus. Most of this presentation is going to be run by my colleague Sarah Wilson, who knows her stuff.
Hi, everybody.
So just a little bit of admin before we get started. If you do have any questions, you can ask them using the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen. As a rule, we try to address these at the end of the presentation rather than during it, just to not interrupt the flow. If you do have any challenges with audio or technical problems, don't worry. We will be recording the webinar and we'll send out the slides and the recording to everybody after the event. So if you need to duck out for any reason, please don't worry. We won't take it personally. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to pass on to Sarah, who's going to get started for you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. All right, so let's get started. So I want to be aggressive and assume that your overall goal for using LinkedIn is to increase revenue growth. I mean, who wouldn't? So there's no one magic step to achieving this, but what you need to do is follow a path that's going to enable you to create meaningful connections with your target audience. So the good news is that this is certainly, something that you can achieve through LinkedIn, and we're going to show you how today. So LinkedIn launched in 2003, and it's currently the third most popular social network in terms of unique monthly visitors. So it's right behind, Facebook and Twitter. So think Facebook, but with a more professional feel. So it enables users, to connect and share content with other professionals, including colleagues as well as potential employees, business partners, and new employers. So if you're a business on LinkedIn, it can also be a fantastic marketing tool. And as you can see, 65% of B2B companies have acquired a customer through LinkedIn. And, that's the ultimate goal that we want you to reach today. So what you'll learn, today we're going to show you how to create a personal and company profile, so it's strong, how to post engaging content, to generate quality leads, and to build relationships. All right, so even if you sell to small companies, that doesn't mean that you can't aspire to sell to bigger guys. When it's done correctly, your website, your social media pages, essentially even the playing field. So meaning if you're a promo distributor or a sign seller, who sells to huge companies, it's no different than a promo distributor or a sign maker who sells to ma and pa stores. So your online presence is evening the playing field. You're not going to be any different than them. So you should think big in terms of your connections that you're making and your goals. So how can you use LinkedIn to essentially grow your revenue or for lead generation? So it's a strategy called social direct marketing. So it's social in that it uses LinkedIn's social network and utilities together with the disciplines of direct marketing. So it might feel like it's just chat, you're in the groups or you're posting on the news feed, but there's a structure and a process to it. So you can progress contacts into clients. So a key feature of social direct marketing is your LinkedIn profile. So professional written profiles for both your personal page and your business one, they're essential because, this is the first place where new contacts will look you up, and it's, pretty much your best chance to make a great impression. So the people you meet on LinkedIn, those are the ones that you can offer a product to or a service because they're already connected with you. So the size of your network, it's not really significant in itself. It's obviously a goal to have 500 plus, but it's the quality of your contacts that counts. So particularly making connections with senior level prospects and influencers who are connected with your prospects in your sector.
So one thing that I started doing when I started using LinkedIn more aggressively was make a point of connecting with marketing professionals. And even if they couldn't help me, what I soon found is marketing people in general, of which, most people who sell signs and promotional products, you guys have got a sales and marketing type background. They generally have quite a large network on LinkedIn. And the great thing is that once you have a connection with one person on LinkedIn, you're indirectly connected to all of their network as well. Mm-hmm. And you can request to befriend their connections. So when Sarah said to me, I want to grow my connections in promotional products and signs, I'm like, great, you can actually just go through my connections, and if you recognize any of them, just go ahead and request them. And because we have a shared connection, we can do that. It's much more difficult on LinkedIn to connect with somebody with whom you have no indirect connection. So you kind of need that that 1 degree of separation. You need one person to know lots of people, and then you're in good shape. But it's more difficult to connect with somebody with whom you have no shared contacts or no shared experience or no shared group activity. And Sarah's going to talk a bit more about group activity.
Yeah. So a lot of you might be putting a lot of your efforts right now on Facebook or Twitter, you know, because that's what you've been told, that, you know, you need to be on all social networks. And it is important. You should focus on maybe 3, you know, pages that you really want to focus on. But your time is better spent on LinkedIn newsfeed or just your LinkedIn in general over Facebook, because it may not drive the most engagement on social media. So you'll notice, you know, you may be getting 1 or 2 likes on something you post on LinkedIn as opposed to 10 plus, you know, on your Facebook. But what it does do is it drives targeted and qualified traffic that's interested in doing business. So instead of just getting a like for the sake of looking popular, you're actually getting qualified, you know, leads on your LinkedIn, because those are the ones that are interested in essentially making a purchase or doing business with you. So why wouldn't you want to spend your time on LinkedIn over Facebook? All right, so the first step that I want you to take note of for your profile is to have a custom profile URL. So you can adjust you know, your personal one and your company LinkedIn pages to better position yourself to turn your current or future connections into clients. So this is a, you know, a super easy step that you can take, and it really helps you to stand out from others who aren't doing it. So the easier you make it for people to find you and connect with you, the better. And just so you guys know, for a lot of these slides, don't worry about taking notes or anything like that, because some of these are going to have directions for you on how to implement these changes. So just listen right now, and if, you know, we'll send these slides later to you if you need to look back and actually see the directions again. All right. So for the second part, adding a background photo. So this is a newer feature on LinkedIn, and it really just helps to give your profile, you know, a little bit more personality by adding a background photo. But just keep in mind that LinkedIn is a professional social network, so choose your photo accordingly. And in just a bit, I'll show you some examples of unprofessional LinkedIn photos. Go back on. Okay. So requesting recommendations. You know, most people use recommendations to show off to potential job seekers, but as a promo distributor or a sign maker, you know, LinkedIn recommendations, they're equivalent to a website testimonial or an online review. So if you're connected with a client, don't be afraid to ask for a recommendation. You know, failing to get recommendations won't necessarily hurt you, but having them can definitely help you, you know, by building your online credibility with potential clients. And just like normal testimonials, it can, you know, take a bit of time to build these. So this is all about building your online credibility. Okay, so adding keywords to your profile. So I suggest that you come up with 10 to 12 and then prioritize them so that you know which ones are your most important keyword phrases. So before finalizing your list, you may want to do a LinkedIn search. See, you know, what competitors have on their profile. See what comes up, and if it would be to your advantage, you know, to be ranked above those individuals. As Liz noted earlier, similar to her, I'm constantly checking, you know, other marketers or even promo distributors to see, you know, how my profile sizes up compared to theirs. So, you know, the other day I made the mistake of comparing mine to Liz's, and I see that I do have a lot of work to do. It just takes time to do this. So, Liz, if you want to maybe show them the difference in profiles, how they can, you know, how little things can really make a difference.
So I would be the last person to say that my LinkedIn profile was perfect, but I used to work with a girl who actually got headhunted by a guy who wrote the book on marketing on LinkedIn because she had such a strong LinkedIn profile. So I was like, right, whatever she's doing, she's clearly doing it right. And I basically stole everything she was doing and did it the same. So in some respects, I've got a background graphic on here which shows a few snapshots of the work that we do at Customer Focus. Of course, we used to be called Trade Only, hence why a lot of it's Trade Only, and I need to update that. But what I'm doing, which not everybody does, is on my summary, for example, I'm very careful to put in the keywords, as Sarah says, of the areas in which I consider myself to be an expert. So, and it's worth doing a bit of research here. Of course, promotional product is right up there, sign makers, sign sellers, but there's a dozen other phrases that people might use to search up here for a sign maker or a promotional product distributor. So have a think about what those search phrases might be and put as many of them as is appropriate and relevant into your profile, so that you can come up under those searches.
It helps to think of it from your customer's perspective, like what would they search for if they were looking for you and your services. So just kind of put yourself in their shoes. Maybe not use terms that are only known, between promo distributors or sign makers. Think of what the client is searching, because that's how they're going to find you.
So from my experience section, this is fairly standard. I tried to make it a bit more engaging than simply listing out, my job description. But one thing that my ex-colleague showed me was the importance of putting examples of your work on your profile. And I think Sarah's going to touch on this in just a second, so she'll show you practically how to do this. But what I'm doing here is I'm sharing different forms of media, infographics, videos, presentations, blogs. And as a sign maker or a promotional product distributor, you have a huge wealth of this content that you can be sharing with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got examples of work, embroidery, screen printing, you've got signs that you physically produced. You should be taking photographs of this stuff and adding it to your profile. It looks more colourful, adds credibility, and it's considerably more engaging than just simply seeing text.
Mm-hmm. And if you have some of those things now, just post it on your profile. Don't worry about it being something that was just done, recently. Obviously, that's the most relevant, but if you have things that you've done in the past, show it off, put it under your profile.
And as Sarah says, I can honestly say that nobody has just off the bat recommended me. I have asked for every recommendation I've received, but it's great when you receive them. From my perspective, it just A, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, but B, it helps my company because I am an extension of customer focus. So when my profile's strong and I have recommendations from people who use customer focus services, that helps customer focus. So definitely ask for recommendations. What's the worst that can happen? They completely ignore you.
Yeah.
But if they don't, then you get this lovely stuff that just every time I see that, I go, oh, yay, I have a purpose. And again, more examples of work that I did while I was at this stage in my career. And to be honest, because I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, it kind of gets weaker as we go on to the point where I'm not even listing what I did at this point. And I really need to go in and fix that. So just for the record, by no means perfect. But I have taken the opportunity to talk about volunteer work I've done, causes that I care about, organizations that I dedicate time or money to. And as Sarah's going to talk about in just a second, endorsement. I'm sure if you're on LinkedIn at any time, you quite often get random endorsements from people you've never worked with, which is quite clearly just a bid for them to endorse you back. So then don't have, in my view, the value of a recommendation, but volume is a good thing. There are a lot of people on there who've taken the time and energy to say that I'm good at marketing communications. Thank you, guys. That's awesome. So as long as these numbers start to sort of check up into a sort of reason, it's not just like, somebody, 3 people have recommended me for my knowledge of chocolate. That's actually...
Why is that on there?
Well, no, I mean, I know
chocolate.
I do love chocolate, but it's not really very meaningful. So, I might even be tempted to take that off. But what I'm getting at is you need a volume of people to have recommended you for something before it really starts to add any credibility, because anybody can endorse you even if they've never worked with you. Sarah's profile, you're going to see, is much stronger than mine for education. Mine's really weak on education. And my personal details, none of this is terribly exciting. One of the things I have started to do is add my certifications to my LinkedIn profile. I read somewhere that you get 50% more views on your profile when you list certifications. So if you guys have the MAS, I know the Advertising Specialties qualification, or you have any sort of safety qualification or anything at all which counts as a certificate, add it to your profile. They're not, to be fair, they're not trying to trick you out. To be honest, you could put anything you liked on here as long as it's a professional certification. And then, yeah, recommendations and stuff, and all of my connections, which is, as Sarah says, the magical 500 plus.
Yes, I've been trying to reach that.
And somebody mentioned to me recently as well was, if somebody's looking at you and they're trying to get a feel for you and your ethos and your passions, they may go as far as checking the groups you're part of and who you're influenced by. So, much as you know, if you're influenced by people, that basically means you follow their profile, and when you see stuff, their posts on LinkedIn will automatically come into your feed, which is great for me. I want to read what these experts in their field are writing about, but it also tells people a little bit more about me, that I'm interested in what these people have to say. Mm-hmm. And that's a bit of a signifier about me too. So, I mean, Sarah said she wanted to compare and contrast, but Sarah's profile is just fine. She's missing a background image, which is not the end of the world, but it would look nicer if there was one on there. She's got a great summary. I would be tempted to not write it in the third person. And I don't know. I don't know if that's best practice or not, but I would be tempted to write it in like a bit more conversational style, personally. And then again, recommendations, examples of work, and if you scroll down to Sarah's education stuff, it's amazing. I mean, she's listing all the blogs that she's written as well, which is fantastic stuff, and is dutifully listing out all of the education as well, which again, it just builds credibility.
Yeah. All right. So that was tough. Okay. Okay. So now we're going over. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So professional photos. I mean, you'd be surprised how many unprofessional photos I come across on LinkedIn. This doesn't mean that you can't show a little bit of personality in your photo, but just be cognizant that this is a representation of yourself and your business. And obviously, you know, for your company page, you should use your logo as your profile photo. So just make sure it's high quality photo and not grainy or stretched like these. Okay, so these are examples of bad profile photos. We have the cropped and blurry, the squeezed one, the far away, you know, blatantly unprofessional, where you can't see the person's face. I mean, it looks a little artistic. It's nice, but not good for LinkedIn. And tiny with bad lighting. So this is going back to, you know, when Liz and I were mentioning, show your work. This is honestly one of the most powerful aspects of LinkedIn, in my view, is just being able to show off what you can do, because you can say in so many words how great you are, and other people can say how great you are, but is your work actually backing it up? To just, you know, have that on your profile. You know, use works of samples to show off your achievements. If you did, you know, a campaign for a client with lanyards, T-shirts, mouse pads, for example, just show the photos of them on your LinkedIn. So there's three main areas, you know, where you can add your work samples. So the most important one is your summary section. So you can place the works you're most proud of or your recent ones. And most people keep the summary section near the top of their profile since it highlights, you know, your interests and specialties. But you can also add it to your experience and education sections for, you know, each job that you've done. And the great thing about work samples is, you know, the various formats you can post in. So you know, there's PDF, there's PowerPoint, JPEG, video. Is it GIF? I like to call it GIF.
I think it is GIF. I like to call it GIF.
Yeah. So you know, any of those formats you can do.
So one thing to mention here, guys, if you don't often get to physically handle the merchandise, you know, I know a lot of people, not so much sign makers, because you guys have physically got bricks and mortar stores and you're physically producing the goods. Mm-hmm. In the case of promotional product distributors, sometimes the product never touches your hands. You may never even physically see it, but you do often go to trade shows, right? Yeah. So take photos of the supplier's products at trade shows. And that's good too, because ultimately that is the product that you're going to be producing at the end of the day. So that's not cheating.
Yeah. Or even if you could get the client, you know, to send you a picture with the product they receive, that's amazing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so, you know, this is kind of going back when we mentioned getting your skills endorsed. So think about endorsements as the new and improved keywords. So LinkedIn automatically defaults your ranking and skills by the number of endorsements that you have. But to get more endorsements, you can emphasize, you know, what you're most qualified in, rearrange them, and the ones that you think you're, you know, the best in, I would put higher up. So also, if you're getting endorsed for random things like chocolate, you can either hide it or just remove it altogether. But just set your profile to edit mode, and you'll see a little demo in the skills and endorsement section showing you how to edit this.
I'm not taking chocolate off.
So, okay. So your personal page and your company page will be connected. So I recommend that you share expert content that solves the problems for your audience, you know, on both pages. So you may even see a connection asking for help, or you might see an opportunity where you can comment and provide insight. So honestly, your time is better spent checking on your LinkedIn newsfeed than on your Facebook. So the worst thing that you can do is, implement all these changes and putting a ton of work into your profile and your company page, and then making yourself invisible or blocked to potential customers simply out of fear of having competitors see your profile. It's honestly survival of the fittest out there. You shouldn't live in fear of somebody stealing your content or your work. Honestly, in some aspects, we all steal a little bit of things from each other, if we're going to be honest. But you can get inspired, you can get insight. It's really good to actually compare yourself to others to improve your profile or different aspects of your business. So I just recommend that you do make your profile public, make it easy for people to connect with you. Don't block it so that they have to have your email to connect. So, yeah. Okay, so leveraging the perks of groups. So not all groups work the same, but there is a common theme in that posting valuable content, meaningful questions, smart comments. This can build your trust with other participants, and people tend to do business with people that they trust. So you should look for groups that are populated with your target audience. They're actively seeking, your value and expert opinion, so you can create visibility for yourself and credibility to your expertise. So plan to join, multiple groups and test out each one. So just keep doing this, I would say, until you find about 5 groups that you really want to participate in. And once you have your 5, just work to sustain the effectiveness of your communication with those groups. So just to try to avoid only going in it, once a month or something. Actually take the effort and time to be active in it.
Yeah, so in my case, we're trying to connect with sign makers and promotional product distributors. So my list of groups is very similar to Sarah's. It's signs, it's promotional products and advertising specialties. Now, because there's a lot of duplication in this area, you'll find if you're a promotional product distributor, for example, there are probably 15 different groups that promotional product distributors are active in. Mm-hmm. Find the largest and the most active of the groups within the industry you want to engage with. Don't try and connect with all of them. There's no point. You don't have the energy or the bandwidth to go into 30 groups a day, commenting, liking, and sharing posts. So if you want to connect with people in the construction industry, for example, find a group which is active and large and ask to join. Most of them aren't private anymore. You can just join them, and you don't have to pass a check to make sure that you do. And the objective of being in a group is not to just simply promote your services. You can do that, but you must consider this, as Sarah said before, it's not dissimilar to in-person networking. Build credibility and trust before going in there with, hey, I can sell you something. It's so go in there. If people are asking questions like, oh, sales have really slumped this quarter, anyone got any ideas? Offer them some ideas, and in a roundabout way, you can be promoting your services. But it's better to go in there and start commenting and liking before you go in there saying, hey, sale, mm-hmm. Estate signs are now half price. If they don't know you at this point, if that's the first thing you've ever contributed to that group, it doesn't build credibility. You've got to go in there and build a bit of credibility before assuming that people trust you enough to want to buy from you.
Yeah, you could always provide some sort of educational material for them, you could write a blog on how promo products can boost sales for the end of the year, something like that.
Exactly. So when Sarah and I we want to write blog articles specifically to help promo distributors and sign makers, because these are the industries we're most preoccupied with. So we are not promotional product distributors or sign makers. We go on to LinkedIn, we go on to the groups, and we read all these posts to see what's getting at people, what's upsetting people, what are they asking for help with. And then we go away and we research stuff, and we ask questions, and we do surveys, and then we write a blog, and then we share the blog with that group and say, we think we've found some suggestions that will help you with these problems. And that, for us, is a brilliant way of engaging with people long before we ever say, hey, we have a solution that might do X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we give you some really good tips on how to, update your personal page. A lot of these can filter into your company page as well. So if LinkedIn were a trade show, your company page would essentially be your exhibition booth where you promote your business to stand out from competition. So this is where you can share, the latest company updates, business insight, and any other, relevant stories to remind people what makes you unique. So an interesting fact about LinkedIn company pages is that there's still a bit of room to stand out, to make yourself stand out. So although LinkedIn reports that more than 3 million companies have created company pages, that doesn't mean everybody has one. So Forbes actually reported that company page usage jumped from 24% to 57% in 2014, which means, it's growing, but still relatively small. It's still relatively small number of companies that are reaping the benefits from it. So what does this mean for you? If you haven't created a page for your brand yet, it might be a great time for you to set one up and begin experimenting with all the options there. So I highly recommend you complete the products and services section of your company page just to showcase everything that you have to offer. And, as we mentioned earlier, this also helps with your keyword search function on LinkedIn. So if you're looking to engage your audience, and who isn't, then ask people questions, reply to their comments, and even do something like hosting a contest. So it's not that different from things that you're doing on your Facebook page, but the thing is that it's targeting a more work-oriented audience.
Yeah. And that's the key difference, really. I mean, Facebook is informal, it's entertaining, it is educational, but the #1 priority of LinkedIn is educational. So it doesn't mean you need to be po-faced and dull. You should still reflect your personality on here, but you are dealing with business people. You're dealing with professional people. They're on LinkedIn for a purpose. Mm-hmm. You should just be mindful of that and not post anything that's spectacularly frivolous on LinkedIn. Yeah. Facebook is fine for frivolity, not so much LinkedIn.
And the other great thing is that you can post to target audiences. So this is almost like a candy store for you guys because you can target it based off of the industry. So we found some interesting research on the top industries for promo distributors are healthcare, education, technology, construction and manufacturing, and financing. And the top ones are a little bit similar, for sign makers, government, real estate, restaurants, finance, education, healthcare. And guess what? All of these industries, all of these people, they're on LinkedIn, and you can find them easily through this, through this option. You can, have a post just for the education sector, or
This is a really good idea. I mean, I never really thought about this because when I'm posting out content, it's only we only really target our services to promo and sign makers who that's not, we're not, but you guys, you're selling your services to potentially everybody.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a promotion on safety signs, that might not be appropriate for a high-tech company. So but what you can do here, what Sarah's showing you, is you can say, okay, I'm going to post an update about this promotion, but I'm going to say I'm only going to send this out to these industries within my network for whom it would make sense. So if you're a promotional product distributor and you've got a promotion on 2 stress toys, well, you're going to send it to healthcare, and you may send it to education, but you're not going to send it necessarily to corporate or finance. So if you follow, that's having a targeted audience is a really great way of basically if you've got something specific to promote into a specific industry, target it so you're not spamming your feed for people with content that they're not interested in reading.
Mm-hmm. So apart from keywords, LinkedIn also allows you to reach audiences by location, job title, and a few other features. So take advantage of this and find and connect with potential customers who would be interested in you. And like we noted earlier, second-degree connections, those are people that are connected with your connections. So ultimately, the things that you're posting can be tripled in, how they're being viewed. So rather than, connecting with complete strangers, we would recommend first connecting with your second-degree connections. Or you can even, there's an option where you can click, get introduced. That's another feature where you can have the person who's connected with that person essentially introduce you to that contact, if that makes sense.
So one thing, just to sort of firm up on this particular page, what you can do here, and Sarah again will show you in the slide handout how you can actually get to this screen. You can search for people within a particular industry, and this is a benefit of being in several groups as well, because you can search people within a particular group, and then you can basically just go down the list and say request to connect, request to connect, request to connect, request to connect. And if they accept you, the one thing I would say is that don't make your first message to them be, thank you for connecting me, here's what we sell. I get that so many times, and it really bugs me. I'm like, oh great, I've just connected with you and this is the best thing of value you've got to say to me. Just say thank you and give it a bit of time before you go in there for the kill with the sales message.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, you wouldn't go into a party, give someone your name and then say, I sell this. It's rude, it's inappropriate, it feels pushy. Don't do that. Be nice.
Yeah.
Be engaging before you're salesy.
And then when you are ready to be salesy, the great thing about LinkedIn is that you can export your connections. So this is a great feature on LinkedIn. So you export all of your contacts and you can put them into an Excel spreadsheet. Then you can message them, you know, from your personal email. You can message them, introduce yourself, your business, and maybe an offer that you have going on. And they're already somewhat familiar with you, so it's not like it's a cold lead. It's super easy to transfer your list of connections. Just you go to your contacts page, click on the settings option at the top right, and then you choose Export LinkedIn Connections. And you'll be able to export it into a CSV or a VSF file that you can turn into an Excel spreadsheet. So I have the directions here for you, so don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. But once you do have a really good base of connections and you feel like you're at that point where they're familiar with you, you've shared educational content, then is kind of when you can go in for the kill, so to speak.
So we did this, and the really great thing about the export is that it gives you their full name, it gives you the industry they work in, it gives you their email address. So you've got a list that you can then further segment and drop into your email marketing system with appropriate tags, or drop into your CRM system and start working these leads in an appropriate and professional way. I didn't even realize you could do this.
Yeah.
When you think, you know, when we kind of did a quick sort of roundup of everybody in the company who's been here for any length of time, we had something like 15,000 contacts between us who were all engaging with us in some way, or to some greater or lesser degree. And that was a trove of leads that we never even realized we had. So
yeah.
Great resource to be able to export your LinkedIn connections.
So once you start, you know, building both your personal page and your company page, it's really good to check out the analytics feature on it. For your personal page, it gives you little updates. It'll say, you know, who's recently viewed your profile. You know, if those are potential clients, that's good. That's a good lead for you. You know, I would go to their profile, maybe send them a message because they were obviously checking out your profile. It shows how you rank with competitors or with your connections. So it's good to be connected with a little bit of competition. You can see how your profile ranks against theirs. And for your company page, you can see your engagement level, what sort of companies or industries are connected with you and engaging with your company page. So now I gave you guys a ton of information. Go out there and get started. And, you know, right now, if you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them for you.